Texans head coach Lovie Smith, a guy with a defensive background, talked about what they are expecting to see from Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played in almost 2 years.
We're telling our guys we're going to see the best version of Deshaun. And I think you go into every game that way. Have no idea. I mean, he hadn't played for a long period of time, but we hope that there's some rust and all those things. But no, that's not what we're telling them. We're telling them that we're showing them the stats. One of the best offenses in the league statistically, adding a great player. So that should say that they're going to be better. That's how we're going into the football game. It's going to be a tough challenge if they're throwing the ball with the receivers that they have. But we know that the easiest thing that there is to do to get a player back into the mix is to hand the ball off to two excellent running backs. That's how we're going into the game.
And with that, let's welcome in G. Bush. He's the host of the Barbershop, 92.3 The Fan, Saturday mornings. Almost had you make it working there pregame as well. Saturday mornings.
Well, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I know you do.
I do that too.
Yeah. Saturday from 8 until noon. You can also catch him on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. G. Bush, when you look at it the way Lovie Smith describes it, this offense should be even better.
Well, that's what we expected, right? We've been waiting for this for a whole 11 weeks. And, I've started these things on my rounds, whether you hear me on the barbershop or the pregame show or the Cleveland Sports Show. I've been telling people I've just set myself up to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm just going to be unapologetic about it. I think Deshaun Watson, for $230 million, I'm going to expect him to be good. I'm going to think that the Browns are going to go 6-0. Now, look, I could be a fool, and I probably am sounding like a fool right now. You're like, what happened to the real G. Bush? Did somebody kidnap him? But here's the thing. Hey, I've rationalized it. I've seen it. I'm like, okay, if I'm the Browns, I look at it this way. Kevin Stefanski is, he's shown that he can get quarterbacks who are subpar or average or mediocre or it's middle of the road to put up some decent numbers just by the way he calls a game. Now I'd say, okay, well, Deshaun Watson has been practicing. Granted, it's not anything he's going to see as far as the game speed, but he still has been practicing, still been throwing the football. So I say, okay, well, what does that look like with a couple years off? And Lovie Smith said it best. They can still run the ball. Nick Chubb is still going to be a guy that you got to watch out for. But the only difference is now that Nick Chubb is able to run the ball, I don't think you can afford to put 9 guys in the box anymore. I think you have to now pick a poison. Whether or not you're going to be able to throw the ball with Deshaun Watson for 400 yards tomorrow, I don't think that's possible. But is it crazy to say he could throw for 250 and a couple touchdowns? No. I've seen Stefanski's offense do that with lesser talent. So for me, I also had to take this into consideration. I think Deshaun Watson is going to be highly motivated. There's a lot of people that say, there's going to be a hostile environment. There's going to be a lot of people in attendance, and especially some special guests that Mr. Busby has attending the game. Deshaun Watson will be highly motivated to play his best football. He might want to try. He might be amped up and try to, do too much. He may throw an interception or run around or get kind of happy feet in the pocket. But I think that'll wear down after a half. I think he has a half, maybe 3/4 of rust, and you should still see the plays that pop here and there of the real Deshaun Watson. I expect Deshaun Watson to play well in this game. Nothing that's going to be earth-shattering, but I do expect the Browns to win the game and Deshaun Watson to show people why it is, at least in small samples, why they went out and made the investment they did.
Yeah, I would agree. And when you're talking about rust, it might not be consistent, but I think you put it best. There's going to be some plays that pop. The big plays, that's not consistent. That's the talent that he brings.